Welcome back, everybody. It's time again for another All Yeah Trek Watch here on the Word Balloon Network. John Suntress here, Mitch Halleck here, Franco the Royal Prince here. We're talking about episodes 6 and 7 because we missed last week, and that's okay. And I'm kind of glad because it's interesting. I heard you guys, as I was grabbing a drink to talk, say that you couldn't remember some of the details from last week. I actually liked last week a little bit more than I liked this week's episode. Langley is with us and immediately says, why did I actually like this episode? We can get into that. But if it's okay, let's start with last week's, which was the one storyline was the Packlids. They were there to do a peace treaty, and the Packlids had a spy that was on the Cerritos trying to get some information. And then the other big story was that everybody was going, the four of them were going through quarters, looking at weird things that people had picked up on away missions and had to throw it out. And weird shit happened, and Rutherford got really fat, and Tendi became a praying mantis for a while. And Boimler, the other storyline was that Boimler was approached by a group of aspiring ensigns that call themselves the Red Shirts. And they wanted Boimler to join because he was part of the Titan, and Boimler ends up saving the day with Tendi and shows up the Red Shirts and everything. By the way, I have to point out my lovely Star Trek pin that I got from Wayne, our regular buddy from Canada, who not only gave us these excellent pins, but also gave us these incredible autographed Gorns.
Mine's right there.
Yep. So thank you very much, Wayne, for all that shit.
Thanks, Wayne.
But yeah, and Wayne also Langley liked this week's episode more than last week's.
So did I.
Yeah,
that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, but I like this one more because I thought it ran more like a Star Trek episode than anything we've seen. It wasn't as funny or trying to be as funny, and it ran more like a normal episode for me. So I was like, what am I watching?
That's exactly what I thought. I said, wow, if they do this all the time, I won't swear about the show. I go, you don't have to be a laugh riot all the time. You could just be a simple little story with little humorous anecdotes. That's it.
Yeah, but I kind of was. I mean, I appreciated this week's premise of the evil AI, but I would have liked more jokes because I just think it is such a recognizable trope. Let's get into it. And yeah, I don't mind talking about this week's episode.
We're discussing the fact that this wasn't horrible, so I mean that's a win for me.
Yeah.
On this week,
it was like a normal Star Trek show. Real quick on last week's episode, it was called "The Spy Humongous," which is kind of a clever title, and they love those Packlids, man. Those people are like on every episode. I'm like, wow.
I think they do a good job with the Packlids. Frankly, I think they've done funny things. I thought. That you keep meeting who you think is the leader, and no, here's the queen. Okay, and I even like them the way they were talking and say, "My helmet's not big enough to handle this question."
And did they keep calling her Janeway?
Yeah, and I thought that was okay. I thought that was all right. I mean, for my taste, and obviously this is what they do because again, we were getting it this week with the evil AI. This is just what they do in terms of Janeway or mentioning other series episodes. I mean, they mentioned Data's head this week with the evil AI, and it's like, all right. I mean, I accept it. I mean, it's okay. It's just, to me, it just leans too much on member berries, and I would much rather appreciate the subtlety of, like we were saying, this at least feels like a Trek story trope. Let's play with this in our way. And I'm okay with that. But again, it's just I just think it's too much of, remember that time with the Enterprise? Oh, remember that time with
It is odd that everything they reference is always a Star Trek Enterprise. Like, aren't there other ships? I mean, everyone's like, the Enterprise. I'm like, I know why they do, because it's a show we watch. But
right, but you're right. I agree with you that it is like, okay, so I guess every adventure of the episodes we saw are common knowledge. And it's like, all right, I get it, but I just think it's kind of easy. Yeah, and I just like a little more cleverness than what we occasionally get. Again, if we want to stick with this week's episode, I really liked it. And also, it happened last week that Boimler was the solution.
Mhm.
And maybe they finally figured out that we like Boimler, or that they're like, actually, it would be funnier if Boimler is the solution rather than Mariner again. And also, but again, Boimler wants to go on the cold mission with the A team of the ship.
Mm.
And of course, it's Mariner that is like, oh no, he sucks. He's not ready for it, and put him on a shit job with us. And it's just like, again, you're an asshole.
No, he said something to her. He said something to her. Yeah.
God, he's finally like, hey, you keep screwing up my job.
Yeah.
And I love when he whipped out the fish. He's like, oh, like hell you're going to shoot me, zing.
Yeah. And
I'm like, good.
Too bad it wasn't set on to kill. That's all I was watching. I was like, yes. Exactly. It wasn't a stun ray. I was like, oh, shit, she's back. Yeah.
Like Scotty says, you should have put him on non-existence. That's what they should be. So anyway, but yeah, I mean, no, but thank God that was fine. And again, that Boimler is clever and he saves the day, and that's terrific. It's like, it's about time. But once again, you're not my friend. No, you're not my friend. It's like, again, Jesus, enough of this Sesame Street bullshit. But this is what we get. And Rutherford, I forget his name.
Steve.
Well,
the engineer.
Billups. Last name, I believe, Billups.
Oh, I thought it was Steve.
I'm sure it could be Steve Billups. I don't know, but the point is, usually they go by last names. All right, I'm the virgin prince, and I'll be king once I get laid. All right,
maybe one day he'll be able to get it up.
Yeah.
It
reminds me of Ned Flanders for some reason. I don't know. Every time I see him, I go, "Oh, it's the Flanders guy in the background, the goody two shoe guy." But. Hey, was that planet, Mr. John, encyclopedic memory? Was that the planet that Pike was on when they had like, hurry, he's coming, and she was dressed like the princess, and there was that castle. Remember they were fighting that big ogre guy? Because that's what I thought it was. He goes, oh, and they name dropped it, and they go, oh yeah, the whole place is like a Ren fair, and I go, I remember that episode in the cage when they were on that planet, and I'm like, maybe that's why she was dressed like a weird princess from Cinderella. So if anybody knows, if anybody's better at this than I do, there was a reason why they mentioned that name. And I go, oh, a Ren Fair planet. Maybe that's the one that Pike was.
Oh, you're probably right. Something I was turned away from the screen, so anyone watching, did it look like the cage?
Yeah, that castle. Yeah.
If it did, then it could very well have been that planet. Why not? Why not?
If you're gonna go back and drop weird references, why not drop that one too?
So
get Pike involved. Why not?
I like in the original in the cage when Susan Oliver, when he's she's like, come on, and he goes, wait a minute, this isn't right. And she goes, and she gives this weird like face like, why are you following me? I don't know. It's this weird just kind of reaction from Susan Oliver. It always cracked me up as a kid. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't seem like a very normal emotional reaction, but okay, whatever, Vina, whatever the hell you want.
Yeah. And the mom was
a green dancing queen.
And the mom was like Luxana Troy. She's trying to get her son laid.
Okay. Okay. It's weird from the cold open. I didn't get right away that the queen was Billups' mom. And it really did take after the credits when he's like, "Mom, what are you doing here?" Whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, and also
he does say it right at the end of the cold open.
Did he? Okay.
He says, "Mom."
All right.
And even though this was all kind of a little, like all episodes, a little contrived and little like kind of, but again, I liked it more as a Star Trek episode than I have the others.
Yeah.
And not to veer away from this, but right before it, I happened to watch this week's What If.
Yeah,
and I don't know if you guys have seen it, but
I saw it.
I thought it was pretty funny, and I'm like, why can't Star Trek be like this show? Like,
no, because you know what? It was cleverly written. No, what if? Because I saw it too. It was a comedy, John. It was like, what if Thor was a party animal and came down to the earth?
Yeah. What if he was an only child? Right.
Yeah. What if he was only child? That's right. And so it was a whole comedy episode, the entire show. Right. But it wasn't screaming comedy like they do on Lower Decks. It was actually funny little jokes, and the characters had little quips back and forth, and little
Again,
go ahead.
Francis. No,
I was going to say, even though you don't believe that would have taken place in the Marvel universe, it lent itself to be a funnier episode, and I enjoyed it. And I kept thinking throughout, why isn't Prodigy or Lower Decks?
Lower Decks,
Prodigy, yeah. Why isn't Lower Decks like this? Like, this is what Lower Decks could be.
Yeah.
In a better world.
There's a million
world.
there's a million good adult animated shows
Mm-hmm.
that don't yell at you and have actual jokes that are tied into character and are just funny.
Well,
and,
I think
then there's Lower Decks.
Yeah, I think that's why this draws our ire so much, is because I don't think it knows what it wants to be yet. You know, and one day it's too funny and screaming and blah blah blah. And another day it's kind of like, cute and funny at times. And then there was the episode like yesterday or today, where I was like, this could have been like a real Star Trek episode, like like a Next Generation episode or something like that.
Right.
So I think it really suffers from an identity crisis.
And no question. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, not to slam on last week, but I swear on my dad's grave, I couldn't remember what it was about. And literally, I asked Franco before. I go, "What was last week's about?" And then as the credits were starting for the show, I was Wikipedia and trying to read what happened last week. Going, I know I watched it. What happened? I'm like,
you feel bad. I watched it yesterday.
I know. I was like, I don't know what happened.
I think last week's, what I liked about it, first of all, like I said, I liked the Packlet story.
Yeah.
It felt consistent with what we got with the Packlets. But the red shirt story in particular, I really liked. I wasn't crazy about them going through the rooms and, oh, look, now Rutherford blew up and now Tendy's a praying mantis. And also the solution to it of Boimler tripping over himself and even the very first time that Boimler trips and falls into his food and the red shirts see him and are like, hey, we want you part of the red shirts and everything. But what I did like about the red shirts was the idea, and again, this was clever. It used Star Trek, it used what we're used to, but they twisted it into a funny way that they were all into emulating great leaders like Riker and Picard and everybody else. And that's what they feel like you needed to do to be a great officer. And obviously, and again, it's kind of simplistic, but the moral is, no, actually do something. Don't just act. But I loved that they were workshopping Boimler and they tailored his uniform so he looked.
Oh yeah, now it's coming back to me. Yeah, he had the shoulder pads and the. Oh yeah, okay. I swear, I was like, what are you talking about? Oh yeah, now I remember.
The cast has talked about, I think, in those first two seasons that they did kind of have like muscle shirts or whatever for their uniforms to puff them up. And so I thought that was a good inside joke, but I really did like that it became kind of like a theater workshop. And it's on stage, like, all right, give it to us and everything. But yeah, again, it's like, no, Boimler's like, I'm really glad that it seems like this season they kind of figured out, sure, Boimler could be the nerd, but again, what I've said before, we all want to be that nerd. We are nerds. That's why we like Star Trek. We want to be Boimler and Rutherford, not so much Tendi. Man, Tendi annoyed the hell out of me this week. Thinking that Rutherford was dead and all of her bullshit.
Yeah.
And also I didn't like her being a praying mantis last week or whatever. Oh, well, what are you going to do? But no, but unfortunately I really didn't like, I felt after episodes like The Collector and a couple other episodes, even when they were on the space station and stuff, to go through the rooms and find weird shit and then weird shit happened to them. It just seemed too easy and too redundant. And it's weird because I keep going back to Rick and Morty because that's where Mike McMahon came from. And I'm like, would I have accepted this on Rick and Morty? And it's like, well, but Rick and Morty, again, they seem to get there in a more clever way than the way Lower Decks does. So, Langley says, too, weird thing is Mike McMahon does great with Solar Opposites. Lower Decks is a complete mess. Langley, I keep saying it. I have a feeling, and I felt like I was cheating with you guys. Last Saturday night, I had Larry Young on to talk a lot of Star Trek.
Saw that.
It wasn't officially an All Yeah Trek Watch, but and I like Larry, and I've been talking to Larry for a long time, and he's a big Star Trek fan. And again, I really suspect that these guys are being, I'm sure they're being edited by the higher ups, and maybe no, we don't like that idea. Go this way, and I think Solar Opposites and certainly Rick and Morty in both cases. First of all, there's not the baggage that Star Trek brings, but also I think there's not the heavy-handed editing of, oh no, you can't do that for whatever reasons. So I don't know. I also thought, by the way, this week with Billups, and it's fine, whatever. But of course, not just a woman waiting for him to have sex. You had to have the threesome. So
yeah.
You can have your option of either gay sex or straight sex. It's up to you. So,
hey, that Rick and Morty show, was it gangbusters right out of the gate, or did it take a couple seasons?
No, it was gangbusters right out of the
really?
gate.
Because I was thinking, like, give the Lower Decks its due. Like most shows, like, you know, they need the first year to figure out what the hell's going on, and then it starts to get good as it goes along.
You know, Solar Opposites, the other show that was mentioned.
Yeah.
The whole season was dumped at once, so all the episodes all at once.
Yeah.
So first episode or so, I was like, but then it kind of really grew on me, and I liked it. So you know, you had both ends of the spectrum where Rick and Morty was out of the gate, and Solar Opposites wasn't, but it found its groove. I do have to say that, you know, the first couple of episodes of this season 2 of Lower Decks, I'm thinking, like they're still doing this, where they have been getting better. The last few episodes have been getting better for me.
Yeah.
I still think it suffers from that identity crisis. Like, it doesn't know where it wants to be, but it has gotten better. So maybe they're trying to get a handle on what they're doing. But
I was thinking, do they hear people's feedback? Because every time I talk about the show, I always go, I like it when it seems like a normal Star Trek show, and we'll say that, and I go, maybe somebody's going, hey, the people like it when it's like a normal Star Trek show without the screaming and the pies in the face stuff and over the top nonsense. So,
given that it's so divisive, I would think that as much as I don't believe they're so into themselves that they're only listening to the positive stuff. I can't, because I think there are enough reasonable people that don't like it or New Trek that they must be listening. What don't they like? I mean, I even got that feeling from Star Trek Day when Akiva Goldsman was talking about Strange New Worlds and saying, hey, we're going to be more episodic. Well, we've been screaming that for several years now about Discovery and just Trek in general. So now finally, okay, let's do a show that is more episodic. We'll certainly see. So, you know, I mean, and Mitch, it's funny because obviously Langley agrees with you. He says, the only reason why I'm still watching every Trek has improved after 2 or 3 episodes. Had to improve. Well, I mean, in some cases, especially earlier Trek, 2 or 3 seasons before they kind of found their footing. I don't know why, Mitch. I always kind of judge Trek harsher because, you know, of all the different sequel series that they've done over the years, the basic formula by now should be easy. And
but they never did all-out comedy before. They were all basically the same show again and again and again in a different situation and time period. But this one was like, it's going to be a wacky look at the Lower Decks crew. It's like, wait, what?
I just, again, I don't think you have to have done comedy in a genre to produce comedy. I just finished a new Mel Brooks biography, and they really got into Blazing Saddles and stuff. And a lot of it, too, had to, hey, look, it's Helen. Helen and I used to work together at CBS Radio in Chicago and stuff. Good to see
Helen.
you. Helen's a massive Star Trek fan. It's great to. I'm really glad you're watching, Helen. That's excellent. Helen, I'd really give me comments on what you think of Lower Decks and give us comments because you're a smart Trek watcher. I'm interested in what you think of a lot of the new Treks in general.
You said that it made me think of that. I'm a Trek watcher.
I'm a Trek watcher. There goes one now.
Exactly.
Right on by. So what were you saying? Mel Brooks thing you just read the book. You were going on about Blazing Saddles.
Yeah, because Blazing Saddles came at the right time. And we were almost like oversaturated with the Western genre. And that's why Blazing Saddles worked so much that it was ready to be parodied. And I think 50 plus years of Star Trek has caused the same kind of thing where I don't think you have to have done comedy before. You watch, I mean, and again, look at what they're doing. They're taking classic Star Trek tropes and they're trying to find comedy out of it. I think the AI stuff should have been funnier this week. It just kept going back to, hey, you know, wow. Really help you out. Which by the way, they didn't do, and that would have been a better joke.
It did something that I was like, where's the payoff on that? It's like, oh, let me just get a hold of the computer panel, and it accessed that pad thing that they have, and it read something, but nothing really happened. I was like, oh, what is that? Like, it's gonna like learn about that.
It was a one-trick pony throughout the whole episode. That's all it was. I
Well,
did
yeah.
find it funny at the end when they lock it up and he threatens him, and then the one next to him starts.
And then, there's a whole room of them.
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
Well, you know what should have been in there? Like Nomad should have been there. And I was like, where are all the other stories where they had the M5 computer? That should have been next to all these others.
I would have had Pike's chair in one of them.
Yeah, all these things, all these
sentient,
these computers that try to take over all the V'ger could have been back there. This show that's famous for dropping all these references to all these things, you had you blew it like it's in Copland when he's screaming at Stallone. You blew it. They had a shot there. I was like, why don't you show all the other computer stories you've ripped off again and again and again? Like messed up. What was that? Oh, Hugh, but they already got rid of Hugh. Hugh could have been off to the corner like a mess.
Yeah, but Flicker Bucket is right. He read the pad and used it to get Boimler and Mariner against each other.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Which again, you're not my friend. No, you're not my friend. And it's like, all right, whatever. So
that would have been in their personal log or something. He was.
Well, he showed Boimler the piece of tape of Mariner going to the first officer and saying,
"Don't pick him
for that mission."
Right. Yeah, you're right.
So yeah, and again, it's fine, but here we are again. Hey, look, Mariner's being a jerk. Wow, what are the odds?
Wow, what a surprise!
And again, thank God, at least it resulted in Boimler shooting her.
Yeah,
but it's about time, man.
At least we got to say one thing. At least she stays true to character. They write her true to character.
She hasn't evolved at all in a year and a half.
I do what I want. Whatever. Again, I'm just happy that they seem to have moved away from, oh no, she's the cool character. And it's like, not really. Not so much for us Star Trek fans. Sorry.
Remember that episode in Next Generation where they showed the third shift, like because Data doesn't sleep. He was like the captain when everybody went to bed, like the night shift. Yeah. Remember that? We used to joke about that in my art department. Like, wouldn't it be funny if you got to see the people that work like the night crew, and then the next day people come in like, hey, who is in my chair? They adjust, damn it. And like, there's coffee on the counter and stuff. Like, what these people are slobs, like the overnight crew. Like when you're in a radio station, you come in the morning, the guy before you screws up the microphone and all that stuff. They had a chance at a live action humor. Because if I remember that episode, that was kind of like what's going on at night, the other people that you don't see. The main crew. So it's kind of like an early prototype for Lower Decks, but I guess you could have done it without being slapstick and broad comedy. I don't even know if this is called slapstick comedy. I don't know what this is. What's screaming comedy called? I Love Lucy screaming? I don't know what that is.
I said, it's like bad college improv where their premises suck, but they say it really loud and really fast.
Yeah, and then it's going to be funny.
But I do think there was slapstick because of all of Boimler tripping over himself. Especially last week. And again, that to be the solution for Tendi to go from being the praying mantis back to normal and stuff. It's like, all right, whatever.
But I'm saying you have to animate that stuff. So this is like storyboard out. It's like, hey, Blomer, whatever his name, falls down. So go animate that. That's going to cost money to draw that. And I don't see anybody laughing when he hits the ground. Like, yeah, that's going to be a laugh riot there.
Well, sometimes I wondered if they're trying to save money because they likely layer their animation and that we're always inside the ship. I'm like, God, I wonder if they're like, if so many stories revolve around the ship to keep it cheaper as far as animation.
Oh yeah, you might be right.
We were on the alien ship. We were on the space station a couple weeks ago. So maybe not. I could be wrong.
I don't know what the budget is on a show like this. That'd be interesting. Again,
I couldn't even know the average animation budget to compare.
Right. Who do you think the highest paid person on the show is? The writers or the actors?
I think Mike McMahon's probably the highest.
I think Mariner is probably the
highest.
Mariner,
yeah. I don't think the voiceover actors are paid that much, frankly.
No. Okay.
Whatever.
Somebody's being overpaid. I'll tell you that. That's for certain.
Well, and I would assume it's covered by the Screen Actors Guild, but then again, I don't know because I know a lot of writing for animation is not covered by the Writers Guild in the same ways.
Oh, wow. Really?
So I really, I mean, again, everything's evolving. I mean, the old rules, just like Scarlett Johansson's money from streaming versus theaters and stuff, a lot of these new rules are just being written now, and we're not existing deals. And that's where you get the worker anger to the bosses, and they have to negotiate and include new rules for new things as they innovate and stuff. But even adult animation prior to that's really only as old as South Park, I would say, in this current generation. It started with South Park 25 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
But those guys, they could put an episode together on the fly. You ever see how they make South Park? It's nuts. Like whatever's topical, the reason why they have an episode a week or two later is because they're literally putting it together before you see it, like within days. It's like, wow, that's responsive writing. I don't know how long ago they made these Lower Decks, like a year ago or 3 months ago, or
I don't know.
It's not topical. How many more they got of these? 3 more? It's only 10, right?
Yeah, 10. So 3 more, thank God. I didn't know this. I guess the International Animation.
Oh wow.
Toddler safety inspectors are threatening a strike.
I think it's all writer's strike is threatening to happen now.
Okay, well,
I saw something the other day. They may shut down everything.
More reality shows.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure they want a bigger streaming cut. So I can't blame them. You know, that's fine. They deserve it. If you know, and again, there's a lot of work to be done, and I can appreciate that. I'm all for the unions. Union, yes, I say.
Yes.
So yes. So yeah, what else? I mean, like I said, the Billups story, okay, whatever, and even that to a degree felt like Star Trek, but I don't know. And also, isn't it interesting? They only had 2 stories this week rather than 3 the last. So
they shove a lot in some of these for 25 minutes. Sometimes I'm like, you don't need to have 3 shows. Oh wait, last week the captain, didn't she get promoted? I'm thinking when she solved the whole peace treaty with the Packlet people.
Right.
I thought I could have sworn at the end of the episode the captain got a nod. It was almost like her episode. I'm like, oh look, Mariner's mom is getting
well, yeah, she tricked us
main story
into revealing stuff. He's like, I was on your ship and you didn't even know. She's like, yeah, you were really smart. You know, hey, I'd love to hear what you thought. Oh yes, I will tell you later. And again, it's the Packlets. The Packlets are Packlets. I understand. That's fine. I loved when the Packlet revolutionaries broke in to take over, and the guy grabs the crown. It's like, now we will not be exploited by the leaders. And he's like, wait a minute, now I am the leader. And it's like, yeah, I'm like, that's a Packlet move. All right, fine, I'm okay with that. So yeah, I mean, I would have given last week's 3 stars if it wasn't for the BS of going through the rooms and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, you're back down to 2. So I mean, this week, I don't know. Again, 2.
Really?
I guess.
I liked it better, but it wasn't as guffawy. Well, none of them are guffawy. It's just, like I smirked last week's episode a couple times.
I think it's funny that I like the side characters more than I like the main crew. I like the Bajoran security guy. I like whatever this guy's name is, a mustache, Phillips. Yeah.
Flanders. Yeah.
And Jack had what's his name? Jared O'Connor had a joke.
Space Flanders.
Yeah, I can't remember.
He had a joke this week. Yeah, they said something. He's like, "Oh, I'm not falling for," or something like that. I was like, "Oh,
and again, the AI is like, oh, you should be captain," and it's like, yeah, I'm not falling for that. I mean,
yeah, that was it. Yeah,
it was like alfalfa in About Last Night. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't. Hey,
whatever. Jeffrey Combs, Star Trek veteran, was the voice of the AI this week.
Oh, I had no idea. I didn't.
That's why I put that up there. Yeah, because I recognize his voice. Yeah.
Yay.
So now he's been on every Star Trek show ever, except for the original, of course.
That was, I mean, I know.
We'll invent time travel. He'll get there eventually.
He'll be there. Yeah.
They gotta paste him in like in the Tribbles Deep Space Nine episode.
Yeah. I did see Shatner last week watching people making impressions of him. That was going on around the internet, which was kind of funny.
Well, and he was out because the first 4 Star Trek movies.
That's right.
For 4K, whatever.
4K, yeah, that's right. That's what he was plugging. I knew there was got to be a reason why he's out there.
Yeah, and it's so funny because truly, and I understand, because it would really be hard for me to maintain my composure talking to Shatner one-on-one. But most of the people, it really was the Chris Farley show of, God, it's so nice to meet you. And,
really?
I'm such a lifelong fan. And hey, for 90. He looks ridiculous. He looks younger than me. I mean, he looks like he's 50 years old. God bless him.
Yeah.
It's a man. And I if you're injecting the lamb intestines in your butt or whatever it is that they do to keep the rich and famous young. One of the interviews, he had these 2 notches above his eyebrows, and I almost wondered if it was Botox or whatever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I
Recently?
don't know what that looks like when you get him, but he just had these weird, very specific horizontal wrinkles over his brows, and I'm like, I think
maybe they taped on.
No, I tell you
the hair looks great.
The hair looks great. I sat across from him like 5 feet at New York Comic Con the whole time. I'm just staring at the hair like it's not a wig, it's plugs. I get it looked natural, I don't know. Stood behind him.
For being nearly the same age as Eastwood, he certainly looks better than Clint.
Yeah, I saw that movie.
Clint, man. Clint looks great.
There was a scene in that new movie. Clint Eastwood's driving a car, but he's 91, and the wheel looks like gigantic on him. It looked like Mr. Magoo. It's like, come on, adjust the wheel, please.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow, when the show's not really bad, we don't have anything to yell about. It's like we've been sedated or something. We're like, yeah, it was all right. Okay, I got nothing to scream about.
It's Stockholm syndrome. I'm telling you, man.
We've finally given in. They've won.
They beat us.
I'm gonna start buying Mariner little figures and stuff.
Yeah, if the episode is really bad, we could do 2 hours on a half-hour episode.
Well, if the episode is
kind of okay, if it's really good, we could probably do an hour on a half hour. But if it's okay, then we're done in like 10 minutes.
What would be really good? Imagine if we all come on and we all start laughing about jokes on it. That would be like, oh, Lord. Well,
honestly, the closest I came to that was last season's last episode with all the Titan stuff. And Riker showing up and 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, so it had its moments that I thought funny.
Yeah, because you were laughing at Riker because he's a character you like, as opposed to the 4 mains that we can't
we don't
stand.
like.
That we don't like.
So I don't know, man. I don't know.
I feel like the cat doctor was sitting in the chair on the bridge today, and as soon as oh look, there's the cat doctor. It's like
and I also the week of the red shirts, I wondered they had kind of a lioness character, and I wondered if she was part of Emrys's race. Emrys, remember, was the feline communications officer on a few of the original animals.
Oh yeah. Wow, that's reaching.
Emrys and Eric's are like the 2 aliens that they came up with for the original animated series. And
she would purr. Yeah. Wasn't that Michelle Nichols doing the voice?
Actually, I think it was Majel Barrett, but I couldn't.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I remember the character.
I don't know. But regardless, I thought it was funnier than whatever. But I did, like I said, I liked the idea. First of all, of course, the obvious, calling themselves the Red Shirts, and then even when the crisis happened, all of them went to doing inspirational speeches. And even for a second, I kind of liked that. At first, the crewmen are like,
yeah,
they're all got, and the boy was like, wait a minute. Hey, how about actually solving the problem? Let's try that instead. So anyway,
it beats when he couldn't go from one door to the other door in the season opener or the second episode or whatever it was.
Yeah. He's saying that he thought that maybe one of the Red Shirts feline actors was also Emrys's race. So right. And always wish they would show more of the second and third shift bridge crews. Sure. Well, right. I remember the One Next Generation episode where Crusher is captain during the night shift.
Oh yeah, Beverly.
And that's when Troy decides to take the command test and everything.
Well, that never makes any sense to me because they're in outer space.
Yeah.
So isn't it always the night crew?
No, they probably have like a 24-hour day and they divide it up into 3 8-hour shifts.
But which day do you follow? Like which shift do you follow?
Oh, they probably have like the morning
all night, all the time. It's space.
No.
You still haven't.
You got to have a routine.
Yeah. Hell, what are you talking about? What's his face? Jellicoe wanted a Delta shift. He wanted a 4th shift.
Yeah.
Get on it, Will. What are you waiting for? What are you sitting on your ass for, Will? What's his deal, John Luke? This is your first officer? What a douche.
Wow.
I love Ronnie Cox. I love Ronnie. And I love the people that have made YouTube videos where it's like, if you really think about it, Captain Jellicoe really saved their asses on that.
Pretty much, yeah.
And he really was the hero of that episode as much as we all hated him and stuff. And it's like, yeah, totally true. You know what I'm reading? I'm reading a great Deep Space Nine book that happens after the series ends. And Nog has been promoted to a lieutenant commander.
Okay.
and he and O'Brien comes back as on Deep Space Nine, and they go on a mission to visit Captain Maxwell. Bob Gutton.
Oh, I love that guy. Yes, that was my favorite. Yeah.
And it's really Maxwell is a civilian, and he's working on a planet space station, and is the janitor, but also kind of
no way
psychological counseling and stuff.
Yeah,
what he did wrong, and of course, and in fact, when O'Brien and Nog are going to the space station, O'Brien is telling them his whole backstory.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Captain Maxwell was right; he was just right at the wrong time.
Right.
So I'm really thrilled that they went back to him, and that's what I love about the novels.
Yeah,
they did the same thing with Kelsey Grammer's character from the Time Loop.
Oh, Bozeman or something?
Yeah, Captain. Yeah. Well, the Bozeman was the ship, and I forget the name. I forget his name, the captain's name. But essentially, it was like, all right, now he's in the 24th century.
Mm-hmm.
He's lost 100 years.
Yeah, he's like Captain America.
Yeah. What's his life like now?
Was it a Captain Fraser Crane? I believe.
No. Plus, it's the whole crew as well. It wasn't just him. The whole crew got taken back through time.
By the way, there's another great example of comedy Star Trek parody, where for one of the anniversary shows on UPN, they did a big Star Trek special, and they had Janeway Mulgrew, and her crew was the supporting cast of Frasier, everybody but Kelsey Grammer. And it was David Hyde Pierce, and it was Perry Gilpin, and it was the British chick, and it was John Mahoney. Absolutely. And it's you can find it on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube. And especially David Hyde Pierce is, totally mincing along the way Niles would always mince along. And it's hilarious. And it's all within Star Trek kind of humor. And Janeway's totally the straight woman, and just like, can you raise them on frequencies? Oh, leave me alone, or what? I mean, I think it's very funny. It was like 5 or 6 minutes long, the bit, but I thought it was very funny. I don't know if people remember. Oh, that's Todd is Captain Bateson.
Bateson.
And Langley remembers what I'm talking about, so that's cool.
No, I have that script from that episode, not that one, with the one with Captain Maxwell, because I remember when I wrote a spec script for Star Trek, they sent you an episode.
Oh, that's
so
great.
You could see the thing. I just found, you know what you'd like? I don't know if you ever saw it. They sent you the Bible if you were going to write a spec script, and it had all the things you could do to the characters and who you couldn't do, and like their backgrounds, like do not refer to Will Riker's this, do not do this, the captain only. And it was great. It was like about, 200 pages. I still saved it somewhere, but it was like, these are the things you can talk about. You can't talk about time travel. They had like rules. Don't do Kirk Spock references. Don't do this. Don't do that. Do that. So I did it. Yeah, I wrote an episode. In fact, the woman that wrote that episode, she was the secretary, and she would get the scripts, if I recall. And then she just talked to, was it Berman? Yeah. That's how she got her job. And he said, can I write a spec script? She wrote that episode, I believe. And Fajo was her name. And they named the character that was the collector guy that tried to get data after her. Yeah. That was her. And I said, that was one of my favorites. She went on to go work on the X-Files, I believe. So
Todd wants you to send the Bible to Discovery, and maybe they could use it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm supposing they still have such a thing that says these are what you have to do.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Well, there's series Bibles. Yeah.
Do not deviate from this. Yeah, I wonder what this.
But also, you're supposing that they accept open submissions, which they
don't. I don't think they do that anymore.
They don't do that anymore, but they do for every show. They do create a series Bible.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're even accepting from even like WGA members.
Oh, really?
I think they've got their writer staff.
That was something though. Yeah. Back in the day, spec scripts, they were actually open to it. And I remember I sent one in, and X-Files did it, Star Trek did it. And
I remember
maybe it ended in 2000s.
I've said this on the Oh Yeah podcast, but I remember as a little kid watching an episode of the Super Friends on Saturday morning, getting up early to watch it. And at the end on the credits, and nobody can confirm this to me because maybe I was just hallucinating, but I don't think so.
Well,
but at the end credits, on the end credits of one, I saw something like you could write your own script. Here's the address. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. And yes. And I went to go get a pen and pencil, but obviously I didn't make it in time. So the next week I got up early to make sure I was up early. And I had pen and pencil, and they waited to the end of the episode, but they never showed it again. But they
I can't imagine
sort
that.
of, they had some sort of open thing where your script could be like, we can make one of your scripts type thing.
Yeah, because I'm just saying because it's animated, it took time to do that as opposed to, I don't know.
Well, I'm sure it wasn't going to be like the next week.
Right.
No,
no, they probably were in the midst of a multi-season deal. Regardless, the union rules have obviously changed.
Yeah,
it keeps those things from not being able to happen. And I have to be, as much as the fresh ideas that came from open submission, I kind of do think it's a good idea to close shop. And then, I guess Wayne's been looking for you as well, Franco. He can't find it either. But whatever.
Why? Because you're just afraid lawsuits would bog everything down.
Right,
People would be suing all day.
Oh, I'm sure that's exactly the reason why they close things up. You remember, the Wachowskis got in trouble for The Matrix, and
they did. I didn't.
Yeah.
What was the Strangers thing? Just got in trouble because some guy wrote the thing, even the same names as like the institute where they were doing experiments on kids, and they named it this, and they go, "Oh no, we're not going to look at it." And sure enough, the two brothers there's a McGuffin brothers or something that make Stranger Things. They admitted they saw this guy's script, and then when you watch their show, there's a shit ton of references that are beyond pure coincidence. I mean, they even named the town after the same thing the guy had in his script. I'm like, that's not by accident.
I can't believe Discovery got away with the things that they there's a video game from the 90s or early 2000s that had that tardigrade, just like Discovery had.
Oh yeah, you told me that. Yeah,
similarities to Discovery. And again, it depends what kind of judge you get. Because the judge's like, yeah, no, I don't see it. And it's like, well, then you're blind, pal.
Yeah.
Don't say that to the judge. He'll
don't disrespect the court.
Your Honor. I'm sorry, you're blind, Your Honor. I apologize. So, is this it, Montauk?
Montauk, that was it. Yeah. It was out in Long Island. I kept thinking that. His was called Project Montauk, and they're like, no. And then when they did the Stranger Things, the name of the thing is like Montauk. I'm like, wait, come on, that's too coincidental.
Yeah.
Well,
that's like, pardon me, I have hair in my mouth.
As long as it's yours, it's okay.
Yeah, it is mine. That's why, like Straczynski with Babylon 5 and Deep Space Nine.
Oh yeah, that was always kind of close, but
yeah. Well, they even used the exact same names. It's like, come on, man. So
don't you remember Buck Rogers season 2? He went looking for the lost colony of Earth. I was like, isn't that Battlestar Galactica? But it was the same producer.
Yeah, it was Glenn
Larson. So they're kind of like, yeah, we're not going to go into it too much. Don't worry.
The great Howard Hawks.
If there's anyone you can rip off, it's pretty much yourself.
Right. Howard Hawks. I know Angie Dickinson doing, I want to say Rio Lobo or Rio Bravo. I forget which Rio.
Oh yeah, there's the same picture basically.
Well, there's that, but actually, she was in the one that was before the one with, because it went the one with Dean Martin and then the one with Robert Mitchum.
Yeah,
same story. But Angie Dickinson was in the Dean Martin one, and she had dialogue to John Wayne, and she was watching like His Girl Friday, Rosalind Russell talking back to Cary Grant. And she's like, "Oh my God, that's my dialogue."
Really?
Yeah.
Don't you remember the 70s?
Howard Hawks. Howard Hawks used to just rewrite shit from older movies because there was no concept of rerun.
No, but I think in the 70s they blew the whistle on it because somebody realized they were taking a script from Wonder Woman and using it on the Bionic Woman or one of the two. There was literally the same story, like just switch Jamie Summers to Diana Prince.
Writers, if it's different writers. Well, in fact, James Garner said about Rockford Files.
Yeah.
That there was a show, it might have even been early Magnum, I'm not sure which show, but he's like, oh, give me a break. They were taking old Rockford File
and just changing the name
and erasing my name and putting the other detective.
Well, who was the producer of Rockford Files? Wasn't it
Donald Belisario? Yeah. No. Larson did Rockford Files. Belisario did
neither. No. Rockford. I've got the answer. Rockford Files was Roy Huggins and Steve Cannell.
Okay. Right. Cannell. That's the name I'm thinking of.
Roy Huggins was kind of this like supervising producer, but ultimately Cannell was the real guy.
Yeah. Huggins did The Fugitive too, if I recall.
Right.
It's pronounced The Fugitive.
And he did Maverick. The Fugitive.
He did what?
He did Maverick as well.
Oh, the old Western show?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep. No, Roy Huggins, a great, great resume of amazing shows. Much more amazing than Lower Decks.
Lots of stuff's more amazing than Lower Decks.
So, but I'm looking forward. I think it's still not out till next week, this coming Tuesday. But they're in the pocketbooks in the Star Trek novels. They're wrapping up the old continuity because the changes in Picard kind of negate what they did, kind of in the classic Star Wars sense. Where, that's a really interesting direction. Then they make a new movie, and it's like, all right, well, there goes all that storyline. What are you going to do? But they are going to wrap it up, so that's kind of cool. And it's called like Star Trek Coda or something like that.
Oh, I saw that headline. That's what that was about? They're going to just tie up all the books and call it a day?
Yeah, because they got, Ben Sisko is back from the dead. I mean, they're good stories. The novels have been exceptional. So,
why can't the Cerritos go to Deep Space Nine? I would love to see that. Go look for the Pa rates.
I kind of think they're keeping stuff like that in the pocket. And once they establish their own show, I have a feeling next season, because I'm sure there will be a next season.
I'm sure
that they will move to those kinds of things. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that, let's like save that for either a special episode or whatever. Maybe they'll be able to convince some former Deep Space Nine cast members to come back and do something like. God, it'd be great to have Armin Shimmerman. Quark, especially the way they're setting Quark up with all the franchises.
All the franchise, yeah.
That was another great thing.
Ray Kroc, what?
That was another great thing in the Deep Space Nine novel. The Nagus, Rom has something to do with the fact that they're going to this planet to negotiate, and people know that Rom is the Nagus's son and should be treated with even more respect.
Nog.
I'm sorry, Nog. It should be more respect given that Rom is the Nagus and everything. So I thought that was kind of neat that they throw little things like that in there. So now you had, and I'm sorry I don't have the photo, but you were noticing, Mitch, that the second season of Space Force has been announced.
No, not that. The uniforms for
the actual Space Force.
The actual Space Force, the real United States Space Force
unit.
The uniform looks like what was Battlestar Galactica?
That was Steve Carell uniforms. I'm sorry. I don't think that was real Space Force uniforms.
No, those were the real deals, buddy. I sent you.
I will confirm. Keep talking.
It was on the news last night. It was on. They said, they came out with the prototypes, and there was the military, and they said this will be the dress uniforms. And they even showed the 6 buttons. They zoomed in on it. It has the logo of the United States Space Force on it, and I thought it looked like Battlestar Galactica. What they had the blue one that Edward James Olmos would wear with the buttons down the side. That's legit, dude. That's the real deal.
Well, all right, yeah, but it's okay. And I guess it's the badges they're saying looks like real military. That's fine, but I thought you sent the photo of the Space Force uniforms and comparing them to the original series movies and the way that they looked in terms of the big wool pullover uniforms and stuff.
No, I was trying to say that isn't that the one that Kirk had in Wrath of Khan, the one that with the flap over it? But that's what they're going with. They're going with that weird diagonal.
But that's on the Space Force show. That's the real deal, dude. I'm not kidding you. That's the real United States government. I'm looking it up.
It is. It was on the AP wire.
Hey, this could easily be one of those moments where you are 100%.
It's right. Bigfoot and riding the Loch Ness Monster. I saw it. It's got to be real. It was on the internet.
I like that this week and last week's episode weren't so bad that now we're actually arguing about real life Space Force.
They were at Terrificon. Leave them alone. I couldn't believe when they showed up. I go, don't you guys have a flag or something? And the next day they came and they hung their flag. I go, okay. And it had the big Star Trek, whatever you want to call it, the crest. I go, that's not real. They go, no, it's real. I go, really? Okay. Think about it. You get military benefits. You're never going to be in a war unless we're invaded by Mars. It's not a bad job. You go to the Space Force for a couple years.
If we get invaded by aliens, they're screwed.
Yeah, if you get invaded by aliens, you're on the front lines. No, but you're going to get health benefits. You're going to get medical. You're going to get the full military package, and you're never going to have to go fight anywhere.
Yeah. Once again, I'm an idiot, and Mitch is correct that they were talking about the cut of the uniform and the entire uniform.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that nuts or what? I was like, wow, you guys aren't even trying.
Well, man. I mean, that's why I thought, okay, they're
Doesn't it look
sued?
like Battlestar? Doesn't it look like the one that they would wear in
sure
the
it
new
does.
one? Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, the only reason why I didn't react to it when you sent the text was it was by design on the parts of both the original series movies and Battlestar to emulate real military uniforms and to make it as grounded as possible. That's why I for people that are watching tonight and didn't watch last night, I had Aaron Douglas on from Battlestar Galactica. And I mean, very obviously, the great thing about Galactica was it felt so real. I mean, and in fact, I would convince my friends who are not sci-fi fans but appreciated good acting and good stories. I'm like, you got to look at it like it's the end of the world, and only 50,000 people survived. And what do you do when you have limited resources and a limited population? How do you keep the civilization going? What choices do you make? I'm like, that's what Galactica is really about. More so than the Cylons and the robots and all the bullshit.
You get Mary McDonald to be president. That's what you do.
Right. Well, that's and man, Aaron had amazing stories about Mary McDonald. I'm gonna release the audio tomorrow.
All right.
With this episode, but yeah, it was honestly really it was great to hear because you could just tell that cast was again, man. Let's talk more about not Star Trek shows.
Right.
So incredible, and the writing was so great.
That's one of my favorite series is the Battlestar Galactica. I was so sucked into that show. Loved it.
I even love the ending. I like a lot of people didn't like the ending and stuff, and the final.
Did you like the sequel show, Caprica?
Yeah, I did. Well, I appreciated it. It was kind of slow, but I
didn't watch it. I didn't want to ruin the whole Battlestar.
Like the aftermath of Battlestar, huh?
Yeah, no, people do look at it that way, but I really thought it filled in. I mean, it was a prequel show, and I think it filled in a lot of interesting things, like Adama just says, "Hey, my grandfather was a great lawyer," and it's like, actually, your grandfather was a corrupt lawyer that became a great lawyer once he got involved in the storyline of Capricorn. That's interesting. It's like, okay,
you don't mind prequel stories as long as they're.
I don't mind if they're good, as long as they're good.
I'm wondering about that because that Sopranos prequel thing's next week, and I was just like, well, you kind of know what happens to everybody, but it could be interesting.
But always, you see, and forgive me, man, but when people go, well, I know how it's going to end. It's like, it's not about the ending, it's the journey. So I'm okay with, I know how this is going to, no, you're not alone. A lot of people say that. And it's like, yeah, but how did we get to that point is the question. And that's where there is room to tell a good story. And it's David Chase again. So it's not, it's not somebody coming in and trying to emulate Sopranos. To be honest, and I forgot to ask Aaron about this, they've got a new Galactica in the works for Peacock.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
They do.
And it's the guy who created Mr. Robot. And he's been very careful, much like Damon Lindelof was with Watchmen, to say, I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to mess with what Ron Moore did with Galactica. And that's good to hear. But I don't know what that means. And I don't know what, if Aaron's like awesome or whatever. Oh, that's interesting. I guess third season of Doom Patrol in Canada. So.
I got to finish season 2 of Doom Patrol.
Sure.
All right,
I was just watching Why the Last Man this week. That's what I'm trying to keep up with. The first episode was really good, especially the end, and then the second episode is like okay, and I'm up to 4. Sometimes I wish they do drop all the shows at once, because I'm like, this might have been better if I binge the whole thing instead of week to week to week to week. But I don't know. So far, it's okay.
All right.
That's all I'm going to say.
I never watch it.
I never read the book.
I haven't watched Only Murders in the Building's new episode this week yet. But
that's right. Episode 6 is on.
Yeah. And What We Do in the Shadows. I'm loving What We Do in the Shadows.
That's a great show.
Love that show.
There's a lot of TV. I even watched Star Wars Visions yesterday. Some of them. There's anime.
I want to watch them. Yeah.
Yeah, the artwork's amazing on them. Some of the stories are out there, but you don't have to watch all 9 at once. I'm like, you can watch 1 or 2.
Well, it's like the Animatrix, which I was completely blown away by and how great it was.
That's exactly what it's like.
I'm looking forward to that. Or those Gotham Knights.
I was going to say there was a Batman one too, like that. Yeah, each person has their own version of what they thought Star Wars is kind of like, and they're all different. So it's kind of cool. And Party Thor was on too. There's just too much stuff. and it's just starting.
No, that's good.
So I gotta admit, this is the lowest season. Remember when we were kids, they have the fall TV preview and the TV guide was like a thick phone book of all the shows. Because of COVID, I don't think there's a lot of new shows this year. I was like, oh wait, that's
what?
September. This is like the thick of it. But
no, they're even importing other English speaking shows from other countries. That's how bad things are. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, so it is really. I just noticed, like, I saw the Goldbergs and the Wonder Years. It says season premiere. I'm like, oh yeah, TV shows. Where are those things?
Well, Fox always waits till after the World Series before they drop.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, but the big networks, I mean, they only have so many shows. I guess there's something called La Brea about like a guy that falls into the earth, and there's like
I saw that. Yeah.
Oh, it's already on?
No, I saw the advertisements for it, and I'm like, what is this going to be? Is this going to be about a big ball of tar that just shows up in L.A.?
It's like a sinkhole. The guy falls into it to another dimension or something, or another inner hollow earth or whatever. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Sure.
It's like Lost, but it's in the earth instead of an island.
All right.
All right, that's it.
That's it. Thanks everybody for watching. I hope we'll see one that we like even more next week as the show tries to figure itself out. But in the meantime, in between time, thank you, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.
I'm crossing my
hands. Double fisting.
Bye, guys.